I remember being in year 6, that was the final year of primary school, and we're just about to move on to high school. I remember everyone was so sad, but I was so excited. I couldn't relate to the tears. Although we were leaving behind, obviously, good memories, I was so excited for what the future had to hold. I remember there was people crying and stuff, and I just thought in my head, like, I just don't get that. And then we had this trip. It was an end of year trip where you go and do fun activities outside, like kayaking and rock climbing and just exploring the forest and stuff like that, you know, to sort of mark off the end of the chapter of this part of your life. I was so excited. And I remember being in the younger years, year 3, year 4, year 5, and when you would even hear the name of this place, Keppelray, you're already getting excited. It's like you can't wait to go there. So we head there and we're enjoying it and I'm having a great time. There was a slight fear underpinning all of this, which is that I have a bad nut allergy, and this was the first time I was staying away from my parents, where you can't really control all of the diet and stuff like that. And I remember being nervous, but there was so much good that I was able to overlook it. We were having an amazing time, rock climbing. You know, I'm skipping around on these rocks, trying to dodge the floor, like the floor's lava, you know, just adding extra excitement as you do to stuff when you're a kid, just fully in the moment. And then we came home, and I don't remember what I was eating, but during the meal, I feel my lips start to tingle. And then I feel my tongue start to tingle. And then I feel my throat start to swell and get inflamed. And I'm panicking in my head, and I'm trying to just somehow stop it myself with my brain, just so that I don't have to make a scene and sort of cause all this fuss. And it's getting worse and worse, so I'm freaking out, and I go and tell the teacher, and she gives me this medicine, which my parents have obviously trusted the teachers with, and they're consoling me and stuff, and my heartbeat is just pounding. I'm terrified, ultimately. I don't know what's going to happen. I remember at the time, my dad drove a few hours to come and see me. My teachers told me this, and I was so shook up that I remember feeling glad. And at the same time, I remember feeling so ashamed. I remember feeling like embarrassed. I remember feeling weak and just couldn't survive a day without his parents, or a few days. I just wanted so desperately to be normal. So after that moment, what did I start doing? I started hiding it. I started not telling people. So we'd left year 6 at this point, and I moved to a new school in high school, and I remember hiding it from everyone and just avoiding certain foods so that I didn't have to admit it. I didn't have to share this insecurity. I didn't have to be the weird one. I didn't have to be the one that was left out. You know, we feel embarrassment for a reason. There's an evolutionary reason for it. It's to stop us from, you know, being ostracized from groups, and it's to help us fit in and be normal. There's a good reason why we feel it, but ultimately I just started denying this part of myself, which it's just reinforcing the idea that you're broken, faulty, weird, different. I remember there was another story that happened where a similar thing cropped up of this embarrassing thing about me just rearing its head again. I had just left high school, so I was in college or 6th form at the time, which is where you're sort of 16, 17, and you finally get a bit more freedom. And I remember there was a particular time where we were allowed to leave the school at lunchtime, you know, and it's this exciting new time where you're able to, instead of getting the food from the cafeteria, you can go to some local place or do whatever you want and sort your own food out. You know, sort of trying to give people more experience to be mature and make those decisions for themselves. And I remember there was a series of times when all of my group of friends would all go to this person's house and order pizza and chill and enjoy themselves. And then obviously when lunch was over, they'd come back. And I remember hearing about it and thinking, fuck's sake, like, how do I lie out of this one? So I just used to avoid them. And I remember just dodging around to the quiet bits of the school, waiting in the library and just away from people, hiding in the bathrooms and shit like that, like, just sad shit, like, being alone whilst all my friends are enjoying pizza. I definitely could have just gone with them. I could have ordered anything, and they would have definitely included me, even if I didn't eat and just brought a sandwich. But I was so ashamed of this that I didn't want to enter that situation. I still didn't feel confident enough admitting that, I guess. So they would all go have fun, and I would stay in school alone in the library. You'd think situations like this would teach me a lesson. But I didn't learn the lesson. I kept hiding it, and as I left and got more independence and went to university and was living by myself, I had complete control over everything I did. So I no longer needed to admit this to people. I no longer needed to tell people. I could just avoid those situations, and then this fault with me, this issue with me, didn't exist. I didn't have to confront it. And then fast forward to a few weeks ago. So this was early November, and I'm going on holiday for the first time. And I've not been on holiday in 18 years. I remember going on holiday as a kid, but it was just so stressful. Your parents are rushing you around, getting you in the car, getting the boarding passes, packing, did you forget this, rushing. It was so much stress that was the idea, I guess, I had of holidays in my head. And also, both my parents lost their jobs, so we ran out of money ultimately when I was very young. So that was another reason why I didn't go for about 2 decades, since I was about 7 or 8 years old. I'm 26 now. Anyway, fast forward to 3 weeks ago, where I go on holiday for the first time, and I'm so excited. I remember going to the airport and getting through security, and for some reason I'm hella nervous. Like, I remember there was a Muslim-looking brown guy in front of me with a big beard who got, like, they strip searched him, they took his socks off, like, and I remember I was behind the queue thinking, like, fucking hell, I hope I fucking go by, no issues. I go by, everything's fine. I make it past security, and it's this own little world at the airport. Everything's expensive as fuck, but it was a cool experience. And then I'm on the plane ride, and you're sort of going above the clouds, and everything just looks beautiful. The sun was setting. It was an incredible experience. And then we land. It was great weather, and I had just left Britain, which is like 10 degrees, to go to Madeira, which was like a beautiful climate. I was just generally, it was an exhilarating experience for someone that, as I said, I hadn't been on one in almost 20 years. And I remember, I think on the second day, I go down to eat with my girlfriend, and we're at this Indian restaurant, and we order samosas, vegetable samosas, and I've eaten so many samosas, and I never thought to ask if it had nuts in. Usually I'm quite good at knowing there's certain dishes where they maybe sprinkle dried nuts on top, or they'll use almonds in the korma or cashews or something to make it creamier. So I stay away from those stuff. But samosas, I've never encountered an issue with them. And obviously I'm still battling this insecurity of mine, which is that I'm allergic to stuff. I'm vulnerable. I have to, like, special measures have to be taken to account for me, because I can literally fucking die. Which I just don't want to tell to anyone. I want to hide it. I want to avoid it. So we sit down at this restaurant, and I start eating the samosas. They come out, they're steaming. We have a little trays of dips and stuff like that. It's smelling amazing. I bite into it. This tastes good. I keep eating it more and more, and then suddenly I pause, and the same feeling that happened when I was on that trip happened again. My lips start to tingle, and I'm laughing and still, speaking, and then I'm trying to ignore it. I'm eating more. And then everything just starts to tense and stiffen, and I get that look in my face like, oh shit. And I pass it, the samosa to my girlfriend and ask her to take a bite or to see if it's nuts. And she goes, yeah, that's definitely nuts. And then I'm just like frozen. I'm like, shit. I don't know what to do. And I remember I was literally just dissociating, staring off. Like, my girlfriend was right in front of me, and I remember just staring off to the side, just with glass eyes, whilst I was thinking about what the fuck. Like, all of these different situations are playing in my head. You know, like just the worst case scenarios. Like, what if it gets worse and worse? What if I can't find my medicine? What if nothing works? What if they're not familiar with treating this in this pretty small island country? It's not that big. You know, what if something terrible happens? You know, and then it kind of starts to get a little bit lower. So I calm down a little bit, but still something's definitely not right. We wrap up the bill, and we head home. And on the walk home, I remember my stomach just started churning and just twisting, because I'm badly allergic to nuts, and obviously it's got nuts in it, so it's freaking the fuck out. Like, get this shit out of me, bro. And then so we go home, and I just throw my shit on the bed. I go straight down to the toilet. I put a towel down on the toilet, and I hunch over, and I just start throwing up my fucking guts. And I threw up everything I ate that day. I threw up until there was nothing else to throw up. Sorry for being graphic here, but it was brutal. And then I thought I finished throwing up, and I go back to the bed just to try and lie down, and then like my stomach's just twisting again. So I go back up to the toilet. I'm throwing up again, just heaving, and I'm just throwing up bile at this point. There's no food left to throw up. And then I finish. I brush my teeth just so the taste's out of my mouth. I go lie down on the bed again, and my girlfriend's asleep at this point next to me, and I'm just lying there awake for like 7 hours, and my stomach is in excruciating pain. Like, I can't think about anything, because every time I try and think or do anything, I just get reminded of the pain. So I'm just trying to do anything to just like distract myself or get by. And then after 6 or 7 hours of just waiting there, I eventually fall asleep. And I wake up in the morning, and I felt mostly better. I was still a little uneasy, but you know, luckily I avoided crisis. And I remember thinking the next day, like, why are you hiding this about yourself? You know, I have a bunch of different insecurities and things I'm embarrassed about, but something specifically like this, that amount of excruciating fucking pain I went through, there's no way the embarrassment you feel from admitting you have a nut allergy, which everybody knows someone with a nut allergy. It's not like I chose this, it's not like I want this, and you're hiding it from people, and it's like, you're being a fucking idiot. Yeah, so it's actually kind of what prompted me to make this video. You know, ultimately, I'm being forced to learn this lesson for my safety. Something terrible could happen to me if I'm not forced to face this lesson. But it got me thinking that anytime you're embarrassed about something, and I don't mean an embarrassment like you fall over when, you know, you're carrying your food or something like that. I mean the deep embarrassments and insecurities you have that are present before you get into a situation. Let's say you're, you know, insecure about your height or your face or your weight before you even go somewhere. before you go to the beach, when you're choosing what clothes to wear, that's when that insecurity pops up, and we hide it and we try and find flattering things, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you should always, it's not a bad thing to strive to be better, but what are you telling yourself? You're telling yourself that you're not okay. You're telling yourself that you're broken. You're telling yourself that you have no value, that you don't deserve to be loved, that you don't deserve to be cared. What message are you sending to yourself? I want you to do an exercise right now, and pause the video if you have to. I want you to go to a mirror and look yourself in the eye and say the words, "I'm proud of you." And now I know most people won't do this, that's okay. Just imagine doing it if you can't be bothered going up and doing this. But even me doing it now, I felt discomfort. And I'm sure you felt the same thing. You're living life and you're suffering, you have losses, you have loneliness, rejection, and you're trying your best and you show up every day and you try and be a good person, and you can't say, "I'm proud of you." You're not proud of yourself. That's fucked up. And I'm not saying I have the solution to it, but I know that when you hide those aspects of yourself, that's what makes it hard to say, "I'm proud of you." And that's a lesson which I'm having to learn for the rest of my life, because I was forced to own this insecurity. So now, whenever I'm at a restaurant and they ask, because they always ask, "Do you have allergies?" What I used to say is, "Oh, no, don't worry, nothing." And now what I say is, "Yes, I have a nut allergy." And no one even cares. They say, "Oh, don't worry, we'll prep stuff with separate stuff. There's no issues." I still cringe. And I know maybe you're watching this saying that it isn't a big deal. Maybe you're watching this saying that it is a big deal, but it isn't a big deal. And it certainly shouldn't result in the level of cringe that I feel when I say it. But life's forcing me to learn this lesson. But it got me thinking about being embarrassed in other situations. If you want to start liking yourself, if you want to be happy with yourself, whether that's because that's going to lead you to finding a partner or having success, or if that's just because you want to enjoy life more and be able to, stare at yourself in the mirror and like who you see, be proud of who you see. The next time you're in a situation where the insecurity when I tell you to think of your insecurity right now, and the next opportunity you have to hide that, share it, announce it, let it be known, and that will change how you see yourself.